Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Wells. I write horror, fantasy, and science fiction, and I talk about games on the internet. Today, I'm going to talk about Esper Genesis, which is a space opera game based on the 5e rules, and which you can see from the graphic that I have was also a platinum bestseller on DriveThruRPG. I actually got into this game because a friend of mine is one of the writers on it, Christopher Nageline, and so at Gen Con a couple of years ago, he was telling me about it, and I got this copy of it and started looking through it. It's a really interesting game. Has a lot of really compelling ideas to it. Basically, the pitch I gave at the beginning is the same, right? This is space opera using the 5e rules, and so it honestly, in many ways, is the 5e alternative to Starfinder. If you love Pathfinder and want to do science fiction, then Starfinder's the game for you. If you really love D&D 5 and you want to do science fiction, then Esper Genesis is there. It does a lot of the same things, has a combination of magic and technology, has good space flight and starship combat rules. So it's there. The idea of it, Esper, the way that the setting is designed is that there are things called crucibles kind of floating in space. And as the various species, the various alien races started exploring outer space, they found these things. And they are essentially the ruins of an ancient civilization so advanced and so long gone that nobody really knows anything about them. But they left these incredible power sources. They function, first of all, as jump gates, more or less. They connect planets together for interstellar travel. They also function as magic power sources, kind of big floating batteries that people can tap into. And so a lot of the magic effects that you can do will tie in directly to those. They'll be drawing power from the crucibles, or they'll be able to do things with them. We're going to take, I don't have a PDF, so we're just going to be looking at this, but we're going to take a look at some of the options that they have in here. First of all, the art in this book is phenomenal. I really love it. So, like, I mean, that's good art. So this is the first of the many races. It's called Ashen Forged, and is basically like golems, artificially created things that are not robots and have been granted a form of life. And so they are very interesting. They come in two different parts. That's actually a kind of a theme across many of the races, is that you pick the race and then you will immediately pick a sub race. You want to be better at strength or better at wisdom, or whatever the little some, and some of the options get really interesting. So for example, with the Ashen Forged, the two choices are a cerebral or a somatic. Cerebral get a wisdom increase and extra hit points. Somatic get a strength increase and some natural armor. Okay? So then we have the Belair. These are energy beings that are kind of kept safe inside of a suit, a big exoskeletal armor that keeps them safe. And they are really interesting and cool. This is the Dendus. Dendus are kind of sort of the elves of the universe, but they're not, because there's also a different race that's also like elves. They are really interesting, and they've got some neat things. They have highkin and pathkin, and they're exceptionally long-lived and intelligent. Then we have the Eldori, which is the other one that are kind of like elves, but in very different ways than the other ones are. Of course, we have humans. Humans are interesting because they actually have several. It's 4 or even 5. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4 subraces of human, and they have kind of the typical, just baseline Earth human, right? Which is in 5e, the humans just get 1 + 1 to every attribute across the board, and they've got that. But then they've got some that are much better at, say, charisma, and have a couple extra little bonuses. And then humans that are much better at something else, and then have some different bonuses. The system of sub-races in Esper Genesis is actually really great. Here's the Kesh. Okay? The Kesh are big, huge, hard to understand people. They're burly and they're tough, and they come in a couple of different flavors, just like everybody else. There is the Matokai. There they are. Yeah, so both Starfinder and Esper Genesis have the big scary lizard race, which I think just because that's the easiest way to do an orc and not make it weird. Prometheans are actually another kind of human, technically speaking. They started as human and then they have diverged differently enough that they're now considered a different base race and they come from a wildly different culture and so on. All of these races have, let's show you this one, the Valna. They're the cat ones, and they've got a bunch of cool cat powers, a bunch of dexterity bonuses, and that sort of thing. All of these different races have a lot of powers, and I'm glossing over them because I don't want to spend an hour telling you what each race is good at and what they're not. But they have done more with it than just these are the space dwarves, and these are the space elves, and these are the space orcs. Like, it's not that. Each of the races feels new and original, and more important than anything else, they feel cohesive. They feel like somebody's actually thought about it and said, what do we need? What is this race going to be like? How is their biology or their culture going to influence their powers? They've done a lot of that work, and all of the races are interesting and cool, which is a big thumbs up. Now, the classes, some of the character classes are very much ports of D&D stuff, right? So you've got a fighter, you've got a mage, you've got a rogue, you've got those kinds of things. Some of them are much more interesting than that. So here's the Adept, and that is someone who can manipulate the power they get from a crucible. This is very much a spellcaster class, but redone as psionics and redone as alien, and they've got some really interesting things going on. Then we have the Cybermancer. The Cybermancer is very different. They are essentially hackers who can hack things in real time. So it's kind of like a mechanic class and kind of like a spellcasting class, all mixed together. They're one of the more interesting classes in the book, honestly. I really enjoy the Cybermancer a lot. And if you have played D&D 5, then you will be able to go through these classes and instantly understand, oh, okay, I know exactly how this works. Which is not to say that all of them are going to feel overly familiar. Some of them, like I said, are very kind of straight ports of D&D classes. Some of them are very different. So here's the Engineer. The Engineer is kind of like an artificer class. They're able to create things. They're able to do cool stuff with the things they create. Very interesting. There's the Hunter, which is kind of sort of just a ranger, but not exactly. They've got some other things as well. I'm mostly just showing off art and showing off stuff. I'm not really getting specific about everything. The Melder. The Melder is another casting class, and I mean, kind of a casting class, kind of a monkish class, honestly. The Melder is interesting and cool, and I like them a lot. The Sentinel, which is more or less just a fighter, maybe / paladin, but with cool powers. And even the ones that are kind of obviously, oh, okay, this is the fighter. Like the specialist here, it's obviously the rogue. They still have more interesting things that they can do. They still have extra class features. They still have, just like the races divide down into sub-races, the classes almost every time will give you the option to choose a specialty or a different path, which again is similar to the way that D&D 5 does it, but these are all new, and these are all different and very kind of beautifully themed around space opera. So that's fun. Here's the Warrior. So yay, Warrior. We all know what warriors do. Anyway, the art in this book I really wanted to show all of that because they've done a great job and the art is wonderful. The game system is the same classic D&D 5 that is the biggest game system in the world right now and everyone knows and everyone loves. Uh, it's very easy to recommend this game. I wish that there was a more robust selection of monsters. Uh, in this, there are a few, but they are clearly, again, kind of D&D style. They're clearly relying on you to purchase other books that are going to have more monsters in them and that sort of thing. But they've got it. They've got a few in here, and then of course they've got starship combat. They've got all the really fascinating gear, and then of course the cool story behind the crucibles and a pretty impressive, a pretty well fleshed out setting. Many different planets are described, the ways that they interact with each other, the ways that you can travel between them. Um, it's all pretty good stuff. If you are looking for a space opera game using the really smooth, really wonderful D&D 5 rules, Esper Genesis is the game for you. There's not much more to say about it than that. So, if you are interested in picking up Esper Genesis, you actually can go to their website, and they've got free downloads that have some of the core rules. They've got a little free download of an adventure supplement, so you can see that. They've got free download PDFs of some like pre-gen characters, so you can check out a lot of this stuff, give it a test drive, and I really think that you're going to like it. So anyway, my name is Dan Wells, and you are awesome. Thank you very much for watching.